Hey everyone, this is Ryan Giffen here at Premier Speakers. I have one of the funniest, most special guests here that we have at Premier Speakers Bureau. Debbie Silver, Louisiana Teacher of the Year.
A long time ago.
Long time ago. So she has some of the most amazing stories to tell, and she does it in a way that I think no other speaker can do it. And by incorporating humor, laughter, the joys of life, but also the real issues that we face every day in the classroom, as well as administrators and teachers, to better the experience for students in the classrooms, to engage them on different levels. She's known as an expert in differentiation and is coming out with a new book that we'll discuss earlier, but currently you can purchase Drumming to the Beat of Different Marchers, a fantastic title to a book that is a great topic. So thank you so much for being here with us.
You're so welcome.
Good. Well, tell us about Debbie Silver and how you became in what I see as one of the greatest speakers that Premier works with.
Wow. Well, I appreciate the compliment. And you know, I've always been kind of like a little ham anyway, and my journey took a little jog, and I became a teacher, didn't really plan on that happening, and fell in love with the profession and spent lots of years teaching almost every grade except kindergarten. I didn't teach kindergarten. Went all the way through, ended up at the college level, ended up getting a doctorate, and as I would just tell people about my experiences and my joy in the fun in teaching in school, then it all just kind of came to fruition, you know, that inner drive to be a speaker and share with people. But then also, you know, I had something important to say. Mm-hmm. So I was really glad, you know, that even though I didn't see it in the beginning, how it all came to fruition. And now I can use those, you know, talents, those skills to help teachers, you know, to make them glad for what they do, and then give them the tools and essential strategies they need, you know, and maybe a little jolt to say, okay, all right, you know, I can do this. I've got, you know, a little bit left in me.
Your book, this book right here, Drumming to the Beat of Different Marchers, discusses differentiation, how to reach every student in the classroom, and how you have to be really strategic and notice students to reach them in particular ways that they will respond to. Tell us about how you became an expert in those areas, and what are some of the suggestions and topics that you talk on when you go to schools when they ask for a topic around differentiation.
Yesterday, that was a part of it. Of course, now we're looking for rigor. You know, we're all looking towards building that and encompassing that in our curriculum. But again, it goes back to beginning with relationships. You know, I'll tell anybody, you know, I don't care how smart you are, I don't care how pretty your bulletin boards are, you know, or how great your lesson plans are. If you can't connect with students, you can't teach. You know, you may be very good at your field, but if you can't connect that with students. So one of my big things is supporting teachers in autonomy, you know, to let them figure out who they are. We don't need to do it the same way. You know, I'm kind of out there and kind of flamboyant, but there's a place there, a niche for teachers who are concrete, sequential, you know, color-coded. We all fit. We just have to appreciate where we fit and figure out how to communicate the essential ideas of our individual disciplines to those individuals in our classroom. So the two main things that I stress are know your discipline, know your pedagogy, you know, go to your conferences, get better and better and better at your craft. That's the art of teaching, but don't forget the heart, and go in and figure out who your kids are. And, you know, we do that different ways. Some people are extremely, you know, touchy-feely, you know, and they're real comfortable with that. And some teachers are a little more, you know, hey, what are you doing? But it doesn't really matter as long as you engage your students. So, you know, a big point I make is we're not trying to entertain students. That's not our job. But our job of every adult advocate for kids is to engage them in whatever way is appropriate for you as your personality and for your audience. And you've got to figure that out. If you can't figure that out, then you don't need to be in the field.
Debbie is an expert on engaging students, but you also are just incredible at engaging audiences. When you go to teacher groups, I actually often will, and I can attest to this, and I will swear by it. I will often go and watch Debbie's promo video on her website. In fact, we'll go ahead and put up a link below here so you can click on it and watch it after this. It is the funniest intro that you give, and every time I want to laugh, some people go watch famous comedians. I go watch a Debbie Silver clip because I love the way you deliver when you talk about your husband and how you refer to him as
my next ex-husband.
Your next ex-husband.
Right. That's just to keep him on his toes.
Exactly. So tell us why and you just talked about engaging and interacting.
Right.
Humor is a huge part of that.
It is.
And on the area of connecting with teachers when you're talking with them, why is that so important when you're going into professional development?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's so funny because sometimes I'll be presenting and I'll have some, 3 or 4 year veteran come up and say, Dr. Silver, I want to do what you do. Where should I start? And I said, go back to work. Go back to the classroom, because teachers are an incredible audience, but they are extremely discerning. And if you don't have, if you haven't cut your teeth to their satisfaction, they're not gonna buy into the fact that I started when I was 20, actually, with no degree, and that's a whole story that I sometimes tell that really engages them. But went through, paid my dues, and I've taught where everybody in my school was on free lunch, and I could have been with my salary. I just, didn't know to apply, moron. But and I've taught at those advanced level kids. I've taught advanced science. I'm basically a science teacher. But the fact and they also love the fact that I have 5 sons, and who had varying degrees of success in their journeys. So, I'm very open about that. And when I talk about stress, in the classroom, I will talk about, this is my second marriage. I had a starter marriage. We divorced over religious differences. He thought he was God, and I didn't. But, they get that. And I had a lady tell me yesterday, she just looked at me in the eyes and she said, "You're just so real. You're real." And I said, well, I'm old. There's no other way to be right now. But I think that's it. I think teachers relate to my journey. I don't mind talking about my mistakes. I do it in my books. I do it up front. And a lot of what needs to be said that's hard to hear, I say it with humor. I have an alter ego that I do that's the antithesis of anything you want as a teacher in a school. Her name is Mrs. Rodina Kulsmucker. But when I come across as Mrs. Kulsmucker, there's a global appreciation. No, we don't want to do that. We don't want to be that person. And yet it does strike a note when people go, oh, gee, I've said that. Oh, I've done that. So it gives us permission to say, we all have that little Mrs. Kulsmucker inside of us, but that's not our personal best.
Right.
And that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to connect people to their own personal best, and that's my goal. And I'm a very inclusive speaker. When I speak, I include everyone. I also, come off the stage, walk the audience. I'm pretty good about engaging the coaches on the back row, mainly because of all the boys in my life and the stories I tell. And I relate a lot of things to the coaching profession and to, their strengths and what they offer. So I don't leave anybody out. If we talk to the entire school, I'm going to address, your maintenance staff. I'm going to address the people that feed us, the bus drivers, all the adults at school. I feel like if we would stick together, we could win.
Right. Your new book that's coming out is highly anticipated. And tell us more about it. Just give us the whole rundown.
Well, as a parent and as a teacher, I grew up in the 70s where we were told that if you wanted kids to really achieve, what they needed to do is not feel bad. And so what we need to do is anything we can do to build their self-esteem. And let's give everybody a trophy. Let's, do lots of rewards and prizes. Let's just constantly inundate them. Let's not violate their little comfort zones. Let's dumb down the curriculum. And we know how that's worked. So as an observer of life, I'm thinking, this is not working. So for a long time, I've been wanting to really say, what is it that we need to truly motivate people to be lifelong sustaining learners? And I read several of the motivation books out there, Pink's Drive. I read Gladwell's Outliers. And what I saw lacking was a commonality with educators and parents. They had a lot to say about the research base and applicable to sports. But teachers, when I would present that, would say, but what do you say? What does that look like? So I thought, we need a handbook. So I went in and I did the research and I put it in terms I think we can all understand, but with lots of breakouts of this is what it would sound like. This would be good. This would be better. This is the best way. And here's why. And I couldn't get a title. Everywhere I went, I would tell teachers, you know, if y'all could think of a title, I promise you'll get no credit for it. And amazing, I didn't get any. No, I got loads, but nothing hit. And then I was looking through a catalog and I saw the Japanese proverb, fall down 7 times, get up 8. And I went, that's it. That's it. That's what we want for every kid. So I grabbed that. We put a little sidebar on it, teaching kids to succeed. And then right after that, we had several disasters in the United States. And people came out with that phrase saying, well, you know what? Like in Illinois, where we had the tornadoes, the mayor said, we're going to fall down 7 times, we're going to get up 8. And I'm going, yeah. So that's the spirit of the book. It also has a discussion guide for educators, for groups, for book circles, for professional learning communities. It's got a glossary. It's got lots of terms in it. But it's user-friendly for a parent or for an educator.
So how do you most see the education system, parents utilizing that book on a day-to-day basis in the classroom?
Well, this is kind of fundamental to whatever curriculum you're engaging. This is all about the zone of proximal development that Vygotsky talks about. It's about raising the bar. It's about how do we constantly engage kids. And where mine is a little different than others, I am talking about your lowest of your low. You know, how do you go in and get those kids who have that learned helplessness? I call it the Eeyore syndrome. Oh, no, look what happened to me. And those are just the teachers. But, you know, but then the kids. But how do you, because it's called learned helplessness for a reason, you can unlearn it. So how do you reach those? But my book also really talks about the highest of the high, because what we're finding is those kids who've always had it easy, everything is a piece of cake, they don't have to study, they don't develop any self-efficacy. And self-fulfilling prophecy is good to a point. But everybody hits a wall. Everybody hits a wall. And when you hit that wall, and for a lot of those kids, it's not till college, but when you hit that wall, if you've been told all your life, oh, you're the best, you're the greatest, you don't have to work, you don't have to study, what happens when all of a sudden you do? And if we've not built that resiliency in our students to that point, they have no resources. And I've seen them crash and burn. I have a son that it happened to. I know it, you know, and I talk about that. And I'm talking about the importance. And it's important for grown-ups, too, to understand, you know, fall, get down, brush yourself off and go, well, that didn't work. But keep going. And it's a mindset. And I use a lot of Carol Dweck's information in there from her book on mindset, the new psychology of success. But then I've also intertwined it with several psychology terms and educational cognitive psychology, behavioral psychology. That's all in there.
Good deal. Obviously, there has been a lot of change, a lot of transition in our education system, probably more so in the last few years than I would say in the last 50 years.
Yeah.
What can you identify as some of the major changes and issues that we're having right now in our education system? And what are some of your resolutions, some of your ideas on how to make that better?
I'd like for us to go back and pick up the best of all the programs, because in education, traditionally what we've done is, we've gone pedal to the metal. Oh, we've got this new program. It's a silver bullet. We're going to save everybody. We pump all this money in it, training. We get started, and then you have your typical, reluctance. Then teachers start buying in. We started, and you have what's called an implementation dip. In research, everybody knows it's going to happen. And yet what we find is a lot of the bureaucrats, sometimes the community's going, this isn't working, pull it, we got to do something else. So we don't give ourselves time to reach fruition. And I would love to see us go back, because there is no silver bullet. We know that. But we also know there are some things that we can do that traditionally are going to change what happens for kids. Let's pick those things and let's build those into our systems. But let's give teachers a chance. One of the first places people cut is professional development. Well, we need teachers in the classroom. We can't, have kids without teachers. Well, what I'd like to see is teachers that are in the classroom but also are paid to go and develop their personal skills, learn more about their pedagogy, learn more about their particular areas. Then I want a collaboration. I want teachers to be paid to come together and have time to police our own ranks, to go in and be each other's best advocates. We know the professional learning communities do work, and I really do. I love to see adults working together. I believe that when we have the skills, we have the talent, we have the knowledge. We just need to focus. We need to get off of this one-shot testing business. I don't think it's reasonable. I don't think it's equitable. And I think we're sending the wrong message to kids. How do you perform this day at this particular time on this particular data set? And that's going to make every major decision about your life. It's just not right.
What about core curriculum? How do you see that?
Core curriculum is going to be a wonderful thing. It's like differentiated instruction. I tell teachers all the time that is not going away. Dr. Tomlinson has outlined some of the best practices. She brought this all together. And sometimes teachers go, well, we were already doing that. Why are we calling it differentiated instruction? Because now we're being more intentional and more purposeful about it. What we're saying now is, yes, the best of the best have always done these things, but now let's look at across the board and make sure nobody's slipping through the cracks. So that's what I like about DI. What I like about core curriculum is we finally said, let's get off of this regurgitation and, I do, we do, you do. Let's make it more project-based. Let's make it more learning cycle-oriented. Let's make sure that the kids are on the team from the beginning. And rather us delivering it to them, it's just rather than covering the curriculum, we're uncovering what the children already have. So I think core curriculum is going to be a huge boon if we'll stay with it, if we'll give teachers the training that they need, the support that they need, and then hang in there until we see what we need to see.
Debbie has influenced, I want to say, millions of educators and teachers throughout her years of devoting herself to professional development and to bettering the classroom for the students. And even more so, you have probably more effectively influenced those students that you've had. They're probably not a million students. You didn't teach for that many years.
No.
But the students that you had, I'm sure, have some of the most amazing experiences. Tell us about one of the most interesting students that you have worked with, or one of the greatest stories that you have.
Wow, I've got a lot of stories, but this one's kind of recent, so I'll share this with you. I was in the classroom 21 years, and one of the students I had, and everybody knows this kid, his name is Ben, and when Ben walks in the room, just stuff falls off the walls. Ben is an episode of 911 waiting to happen. He doesn't mean to, he is just that kid. And when he was in my class, a lot of times I'd be really frustrated, and I write. That's my release of tension. So I wrote a poem called "My Friend Ben," and it was all about what happens when Ben walks in the room and the shades all untie and pictures fall off the walls. And he was just this classic little accident, but, great kid, great heart. And I had him in 5th grade science and 6th grade science. a little bit worried about him. Also worked with him in Scouts, and he went on to become an Eagle Scout. In high school, he volunteered to be the trainer for the team. He volunteered to do stuff in the community. We were a very small town. Was a volunteer fireman. Ended up getting the Civitan Award from the community. He was an Eagle Scout. So he graduates. He's got a scholarship. He's going to college. And I'm at home. And I've got all these boys at my house. And my children set fire to the woods where we live. And I'm just like, oh, my God. So I'm calling, I'm going, oh, get out of here, because our house is cedar and it's going up. And the fire's getting closer and closer. So finally, here come the firemen. Guess who the first person off the truck is? Right. Yeah, it's Ben. And, hey, Miss Pace. And that was my name then. I'm, hey, Ben. So they're all out there. He had brand new Nikes. He had saved his money, brought us brand new Nikes. He gets out there stomping out ashes, melts his shoes, his new shoes. Everybody else is getting tired now, and they're already aggravated at my boys for starting this fire. So they're leaving, and Ben, not Ben. He's just going to take care of every little detail, stomp out the ashes. Finally gets it all put out. He comes up. He's got dirt all over his little face. He's got the hose on. He's got his melted shoes. He said, I did good, Miss Pace. I said, Ben, you did great. Well, this kid goes on, and, you just never know what's inside. And in college, he majored in sports training and actually trained for the UNL football team. But then he had this higher calling. He wanted to be a policeman. So he graduated with honors, in criminology, went to work in Shreveport as a police. Got his rookie year, he got a big outstanding award. But, inside all this mess and all this craziness, there was a beauty in Ben that he was always seeking. And he finally found it. He took another job, became a professional photographer. And he does incredible work. As a matter of fact, when I just got ready to publish my new book, Fall Down 7 Times, Get Up 8, my publisher, Corwin, said, you need an author photo. So I looked Ben up. He's in Marshall, Texas, Ben Daily Photos, went to his studio. He is absolutely incredible. What he did with lights and shading, he made me look a lot better than I do right here. But was just so gentle and so good at his job. And when I walked away, I said, these are great. These are so good. He said, did I do good, Miss Pace? I said, okay, now it's Dr. Silver, but yes, you did. Yes, you did, Ben. You did great.
Well, as you can see, Debbie is an amazing speaker. She has influenced people. Obviously, you've inspired people, students, to be excellent at what they do in life, and she's doing that every day when she speaks to teachers and educators to inspire them to be the best they can and be in the classroom. And just feel free to take a check this out. It's Debbie Silver's book, Drumming to the Beat of Different Marchers, as well as the new book coming out May 22nd.
May 22nd, Corwin Publishers.
All right, so check that book out. We're going to put a link down here. Check that out, and we look forward to bringing Debbie to your next event.